Andrew Williamson here. Welcome to Williamson Education. Today's lesson is about the most fundamental of the fundamentals, the parts of speech. Now I know you must be wondering, what's a part of speech? The parts of speech are the basic categories we use to classify all of the words in the English language. Every word in English has a part of speech. Learning the parts of speech in English is essential to your understanding of the grammar of the language. I'll refer to the parts of speech constantly in our lessons going forward, so it's important to know what they are at the beginning. Maybe you've heard the words before: noun, verb, adjective, adverb. Maybe you have a sense of what these words mean. A noun is a person, place, or thing. A verb is an action word. An adjective is a describing word. That's all a really good start if you know these definitions. But if you don't know them, don't worry. We'll get there. Now, depending on who you ask, English has either 8 or 9 parts of speech. I don't want to get involved in that debate here. It's kind of like asking a group of astronomers whether Pluto is a planet. For our purposes, we'll assume that there are 9 parts of speech. Why? Because I want you to learn more about the language. I'll work through the 9 parts of speech in this lesson, and you can follow along with me on the worksheet. First of all, what are all the 9 parts of speech? They are noun, verb, adjective, adverb, pronoun, preposition, conjunction, article, and interjection. Let's start at the beginning with the humble noun. Nouns are most easily understood as things. A mug, for example, is a noun. All physical objects are nouns. Anything that you can knock on or touch is a noun. Table is a noun. Window is a noun. Cell phone is a noun. Plant is a noun. These are all called concrete nouns because, like the concrete that we use to make sidewalks on the street, they are physically hard. There are other nouns too. Think about air, for example. You can't really knock on it with your fist, but it's still a thing, so it's a noun. Or take feelings or thoughts. You certainly can't touch your feelings or thoughts, but they still function in sentences as things, so they are nouns too. But they're a different type of noun. They're called abstract nouns. Don't worry if you don't understand that yet. We'll come back to these ideas in a later lesson. The second category to know about is the verb. Verbs are words that indicate action taking place in a sentence. To think, to eat, to drink, to want, to be. All of these are verbs. Verbs in English can be challenging because they change form very often. Changing the form of a verb is called conjugating it, meaning that you've transformed the verb so that it matches with a particular noun in a particular time. Sometimes verbs conjugate according to regular rules. Take the verb to think, for example. You can conjugate the verb in different ways, and the verb doesn't change a whole lot in the present tense. I think, you think, he thinks, we think, they think. Others, like the irregular verb to be, are more difficult. More on that later. The third part of speech is the adjective. Adjectives are modifying words, meaning that they add information to another part of the sentence. More specifically, they add information to nouns in sentences, telling us more information about those things. For example, let's say you had a plant, and you wanted to describe the plant. You could call it the green plant, or the tall plant, or even the potted plant. As we know, the plant is a noun, and those modifiers are all adjectives. Unlike in some other languages, adjectives in English generally come before the nouns that they modify. The next part of speech is the adverb. As you might be able to guess from its name, the adverb is also a modifier. It has that ad beginning. But if adjectives modify nouns, what do adverbs modify? Well, they modify verbs, of course, and adjectives and other adverbs. I'll say that again. Adverbs can modify 3 different parts of speech: verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. Generally, an adverb tells you how a particular action verb takes place. Take the simple sentence, the boy ran fast. The word fast tells us how or in what manner the boy ran, fast. So it's an adverb. Now let's say we want to know how fast the boy ran. We might say the boy ran really fast. Really modifies fast, so really is also an adverb. It's an adverb modifying an adverb. The next category of words is the pronoun. Pronouns are words that stand in for or replace nouns. They are generally used when you wish to avoid repeating a noun that you have used earlier in a sentence or in a previous sentence. For example, take the following line. Emily was hungry, so she went to the kitchen. The word she is used to replace the noun Emily, so that we can avoid repeating Emily's name. Or take another example. When you get the letter, please give it to me. There are a couple of pronouns in this sentence, but the most obvious one is it. The word it is used to replace the noun that comes earlier in the sentence, letter. Next up, we have the humble preposition. Prepositions are generally small words that indicate space and time relationships between things and sentences. It's often been said that a preposition is anything you can do to a house. You can go, for example, in the house, around the house, over the house, under the house, between the houses. In, around, over, under, and between are all prepositions. But again, these are just the tip of the iceberg, just the surface of a much deeper category of words. After prepositions, we have conjunctions. Conjunctions are words that serve to join together different parts of sentences. The most basic and the most commonly used conjunction is and. There are others too. Actually, there are 7 most commonly used conjunctions in English, and people usually remember them with an acronym. It's kind of a funny one. It's fanboys. It stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. These 7 words are the 7 fundamental conjunctions in the English language. Second to last among the parts of speech, we have the article. Articles are very easy to identify because there are only 3 of them, a, an, and the. You don't need to worry too much about the articles since this is the smallest of the parts of speech. Finally, and lastly, we have the 9th part of speech, the interjection. Interjections are used to express feelings or to make demands upon an audience. For example, consider what happens if I say, hey, I've made a demand upon you to pay attention to me. Or if I say, ouch, I'm expressing a feeling of pain. Interjections are also a relatively small category of words, so we won't linger on them too long. And those, my friends, are all the 9 parts of speech. You've heard the introduction, and now you can turn to the worksheet, where you'll find a summary of everything I've just said. Additionally, you'll see a set of practice problems that you can use to test yourself on what you've just learned. As always, nothing of what I've just said is the last of what I'll explain on these topics, so don't feel that you need to understand all or even most of what I've taught at this point in time. If you want to, go back and rewatch the video. This is just the beginning. So that's all for today. Spread the word.